Today, we're going to have a conversation about what you might do if you have a family member, a friend, a loved one who's thinking about going to college, and you yourself haven't gone to college, but you want to support them. This is a challenge that a lot of people might have. And we thought Luis Sanchez and I thought we would have a brief conversation about that today. So let me start with the first kind of obvious question, Luis. Why is a family member, why are family members and friends so important to support a student who's thinking about going to college, especially in the context of a first generation family?
Yeah. You know, the clues that human beings respond to, can positive or negative, are so influential to their journeys. So you might have had somebody in your life that gave you encouragement for something that you were good at, and it affected your sense of self, and it changed the way that you pursued that skill.
Yeah, yeah.
Or conversely, you might have had somebody that really discouraged you from something you wanted to do. And as a result of that, and I bet you could think of all kinds of examples of people that have been discouraged from something they really wanted to do, just by maybe a thoughtless word from somebody that whom they regarded, respected highly, or maybe even didn't respect highly, but just a negative word dissuaded them from something they'd love to do. So as a starting point, I'd say the encouragement of family and friends to students can be huge in terms of whether the student believes that they can go to college, believes their family approves of them going to college, and it can make the difference, I think, between somebody deciding to pursue a path and not pursuing the path. How about you, Bryan?
Yeah, I like what you said about thinking about, can they go to college? It's, when you come from a family where almost nobody went to college, or maybe nobody went to college, that student or that person who's thinking about going to college is wondering if they belong there.
Yeah.
And it's like anything. If nobody in your family has gone away and lived in another country, you wonder if you can do it
Right.
because you don't have any role models. So this is something really kind of foreign to your family, and that student is wondering if they can do it. And when you have somebody who believes in you, like a mother, a grandparent, aunt, a tia, a tio, a close friend, and who says, "Look, I know you really well, and you're gonna do well in college," that can almost be the support that tips the balance. And I mean, these loved ones in your lives have so much impact on you. And when you're thinking about going to college, just that somebody believing in you is something that is really critical. Sometimes it's not about knowing the technical ways to go to college and the technical things. It's the emotional support that is so critical from a family. So
And I wouldn't want to forget that it's a huge leap for somebody where their family doesn't have that experience of going to college. I was the first member of my family going back, generation after generation, going back millennia, I think, to finish college. My sister, who was a little older than me, was the first one to start college, but I was the first one to finish college. And my parents had an eighth grade Mexican education. Had they said to me, no, we don't want you to go to college, or we don't think you should go to college, I don't know that I would have been able to muster, the courage and the fortitude to go without their support. If it hadn't been for a couple of teachers who were kind along the way and recognized my potential, I don't
yeah,
know if I would have had the self-confidence to see myself going on to college and then law school after that.
we've kind of touched on this already, but what do you think some of the biggest challenges are for first generation college students when they're thinking about going to college? So when you're coming from a family where nobody went to college, what are some of the biggest challenges for someone who's thinking about going to college from that?
There's a myriad of challenges, and I'll start with the first one. Is it's an institution that is foreign to their prior experience. So it's like when you go to a new city in a new country and you don't know the language and you don't know the laws and you don't know the
Yeah.
customs, you don't even know where to start on
Yeah.
learning about what you don't know. So it's like plunging into a labyrinth of unfamiliarity. And then the components of that labyrinth can include such questions as, can I afford it? What does it cost? What can I, am I capable of doing the required work in the classes? How much harder are they than my high school classes? What are
Yeah.
the expectations? Where will I live? Where will I park? How will I choose my classes? How will I choose a major? It's kind of like going to the moon for somebody that's been, earthbound.
Yeah. What about this? I know this is a bit of an idea, but do you feel like this feeling like my family doesn't go to college? They do this other kind of work. And so I'm breaking with the tradition of my family. Is that offensive to, is that disrespecting my dad? Is that disrespecting my family? Do you think that kind of feeling is inside of a student thinking about going to college?
I do, and I, although I was fortunate in some ways that I don't have any peer influence to keep me from attending college. That is the case for some students that their peers are not going to college, and so they may have some peer pressure not to go to college, but to stay with their local friends group. In the traditional Mexican families, it's been sometimes difficult for girls to go on to college because there's been an expectation that they would stay
Yeah.
home and help with domestic duties. And
Mhm.
there was just kind of an inhibition about, if my daughter goes on to college, is she going to fall out of the habits and the customs of our traditions? There's
Right.
some fear about what influences they'll be subject to. So there are all kinds of cultural and probably socioeconomic inhibitions about going on to college.
How can, all right, let's say that's the case, all right, that what you just described, what can a what can a parent or a family member or a friend do to address that? How would you, if you were a dad who never went to college and you suspect your son or daughter's feeling like that,
Yeah.
how would you approach them?
I think for me that the starting point is to make sure that they know that they have your wholehearted approval. Because again, it would be, the economic reasons for keeping your children at home might be very powerful. You might need their support economically to
Yeah.
continue to keep the household afloat. So just your blessing, your tacit and explicit support and approval of their going to college. Por supuesto, mijo. You have our wholehearted support and encouragement. We're very proud of you and we'll continue to be proud of you as you undertake this courageous journey. That means the world, I think, to most students. On top of that, though, the I know from my parents, I never doubted that they were prepared to take whatever sacrifices they needed to financially for myself and my siblings to go on to college. That's really why they came to the U.S. because they thought that the educational opportunities and the economic opportunities in the United States would create a better standard of living for their kids than they had themselves. So the first order of business is the emotional support. And then the second one is to let them know you're going to help them navigate whatever hurdles might be between them and attending college, including those financial hurdles as well. I think that's the starting point for family of students, first generation students. What about you?
Yeah, I think it's almost like you need to say something to the child that sounds like it's okay if you choose a life and a lifestyle that's not like mine. I'm
Yeah.
uh, I'm not expecting you to be a little mini version of me. And I know going to college is something that I didn't do, and I'm supporting that. I think it's something in that space. It's a it needs to be said somehow. So I know, I felt a little bit of friction and guilt or awkwardness about choosing a different path. And I wish there had been, a clear conversation in that space between me and my champions. It did happen between some of the champions in my life, but not all of them.
And it could, students, I was again fortunate because my parents, we knew from a young age that they wanted and encouraged us to go on to college, but I don't think that's so in every family. Some families
Yeah.
maybe don't express it, or maybe they have concerns that that the student sort of picks up on. And it may not be easy for the student to be the initiator of that conversation. It
Yeah.
may
Yeah.
require the parents to initiate the conversation that says, "Have you been thinking about college, son or daughter?" And how can we encourage you and help you in that navigation? And that's before you get to all the logistics that are daunting for somebody, first generation college student, about how do I choose that college? How far can I afford to go? Should I live at home and go to college, or should I plan to move somewhere to attend college? As well as the cost of college and all those other factors that we talked about earlier.
What do you think some of the misconceptions or um, even wrong assumptions some champions might have about college and the whole process that could be addressed?
Yeah, well, I'd start with some misconceptions around the inaccessibility or unaffordability of college. And that was a major hurdle for my family, I know, to think they never
Yeah.
made me feel like they wouldn't do whatever it took to help me go to college. But I just recognized, I bypassed an opportunity to go to Harvard. I was solicited by Harvard for one of their master's programs. And I bypassed it in part because I was worried it would be too much of a financial strain on my family. I thought, how in the world could we afford it? The
Yeah.
whole consideration was a little bit more complicated than just that, but that was a part of my thinking. And it turns out, in retrospect, that if your child, your student, gets into a top-notch university and you don't have substantial means to afford the cost of tuition, very frequently there are scholarships from the college itself, or grants that can help you and help your student actually go through the process. So it's not inevitably inaccessible or unaffordable. That's
Yeah.
one.
On that note, and then I have a couple thoughts about misconceptions, but my cousin, who he and I were kind of figuring out how to go to college together, we were in this same boat, and he would figure out some stuff and share it with me, and I'd figure out some stuff and share it with him. And he once told, I was worried about this money issue, and he once told me his strategy was to just get in wherever you're trying to get into that college, and then go talk to them about resources they have to help you pay for it. Because you can always say no, thank you, I don't want to go there, but just worry about getting in first. And he was right. The places where I went to, they helped figure out a strategy for me.
Yes.
Some of some of it was a little bit of loan money. I don't want to
Sure.
say they didn't have it, but then there was scholarship money. There were jobs that the college, the
Yes.
university offered me. There were opportunities to make money and save money, and
Yes.
they helped me think that through. But that leads to a misconception that I know my parents had. My mother told me this once a long time ago. She said she just thought the high school counselor was helping me figure all this stuff out. And this is not meant as a disparaging comment on high school counselors. It's just, we have one counselor for the whole high school. He wasn't helping me thinking all these details out. And I was swimming in a sea of ignorance about all of this stuff. And I think that's the number one misconception I would point out. Most of our first generation students don't have somebody helping them through all the details they need. they need somebody to sit with them and help them figure this out.
It's very
Is that your
powerful.
feeling?
Absolutely, Brian. I was swimming in the same sea of ignorance with you there. We got to see in my junior year of high school, we got to see a counselor for about a half hour, and that was the extent of our exposure to a counselor. And again, it's not the counselor's fault. It's just that there are too many students for them to see, not enough time.
Yeah.
And I was doing well in high school, so I had lots of choices if I had known about it. But the counselor in that 30-minute interview asked me what did I want to study and where did I want to go to school? Which are logical questions. And I said, well, I want to be a forest ranger. And on the basis of that answer, this is long before the internet, she pulled out some catalogs from her bookcase and she said, well, the top two schools in forestry in the country are Utah State and Humboldt State. And I chose Utah State to apply to because it was further from home and I kind of wanted to cut the umbilical
Yeah.
cord and see the rest of the world.
Yeah. Right.
And
Yeah.
but I had no idea whatsoever what the work of a forest ranger actually was, and no idea what the study what the curriculum to become a forest ranger entailed. I'd never met a forest ranger in my life.
Yeah.
Um, and so I went to Utah State University in Logan, Utah, from Los Angeles, California, totally naive about what to expect, and I bombed. I had a full scholarship to go to Utah State, and I bombed my very first college test. After being class salutatorian in my high school, I bombed my very first college test in chemistry, and realized that I did not know how to be a college student. Didn't really know how to study. Never had to before. Study came too easily before that, and lost my full scholarship. And I was so ignorant that I didn't even know to go and appeal the loss of the scholarship and figure out what I could do to reclaim it. So instead, I sweated out my next 2 years at Utah State with student loans and work study and in a field that I didn't belong in until I finally came to my senses and left Utah State, went back to Los Angeles, made some other mistakes that first generation college students will make, including never ever seeing a counselor at the colleges that I went to. Um, uh, Grad school, law school, post-law school education, not because I was so smart and had it all figured out, but because I just thought I was bothering the adults in those counseling offices. Didn't realize this is a huge misconception. Didn't realize that that's their purpose of being there, that they would, in most cases, have wanted to be helpful to me. But I was, again, a very ignorant youth.
Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. Well, that idea of the student who's thinking about going to college, and then, when they're in college, thinking about getting all the way through college and not knowing what to do is something that I think is really common in first generation students' lives.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
if you're listening to this as a champion, and we hope you are, that we've really set up. I know you agree with this, Luis. We've set up my circle of champions to really help a champion kind of understand the basics around the whole college journey and the whole experience. So we hope that you kind of are able to dig into some of this content to help your student. We know you're not going to be have the expertise of a professor or a counselor. That's not the goal. The goal is just to get you familiar with it, so you can engage with your students in some of these conversations at a little more informed manner. Let me ask. Go ahead, Luis. Yeah.
We'll help you through the series of lessons and video tapes. We'll help you figure out some of the right questions to ask your student so that they can think through the answers on their own, so they can be better informed when they do go talk to counselors. So, for example, when they're thinking about what college to attend, you might hopefully you'll learn to ask them about what study they plan to take, so that they can decide which colleges offer that field of study best, what kind of climate they want to live in, or are willing to live in, how far away from home they're willing to go, or how near to home they need to be. So we'll help you figure out how to ask questions that will help the student think through the ramifications better and have a more informed basis to go and talk to a counselor with.
Let me ask you this one last question, and then we'll wrap it up here. Imagine all the different kinds of champions that are listening to this video. If you had to give them one piece of advice to, as they're talking to their student that's thinking about going to college,
Yes.
what would that one piece of advice be?
Here's what's unique about you. So if you're a champion, it's because there's a student in college or planning to go to college that thinks the world of you and the way that you support them. And they're going to encounter some wonderful people at college. They're going to encounter some great friends, some great teachers, some great staff members, some great counselors, but no one will have the same level of interest and concern for the student as you do. And just knowing that you are a stalwart, that you are committed to helping them navigate all of the challenges that they're going to face means so much more than Bryan and I could possibly share with you. And it means so much more than all of the processes and the navigation they're going to have to learn about and will learn about, and they will succeed with your help. But that support that you give them is indispensable. And this opportunity to learn about how to best support them is, we hope, proves invaluable to you, because we know how much you want to support them by virtue of the fact that you're a champion. And so our job is to help you support them in the best way possible.
That's a great answer. I think I'm going to leave it right at that. So if you are a champion in a student's life, and your particular student is at this phase that we've been talking about here, where they're thinking about going to college, you might not know all the details about how to apply for college, different types of colleges, the kinds of programs. But what you do know is, as Luis, you just mentioned, Luis, you know that student better than anybody.
Yes.
That's why you're in their life. And communicating to the student that you believe in them and their ability to succeed in a college environment is I can't overstate how important that is. And so, if you're thinking of that student right now, I would reach out to them today or tonight or this morning, whatever time it is you're listening to this video, and try to communicate that to them somehow. And maybe it's a little awkward to talk that personally to the student, but you'll regret it if you don't. And it's you just got to recognize how significant of a person you are in their life, and use that significance to help them make a right decision. So listen, thanks for watching this video. Luis, I always love talking to you, and
Right back at you.
your comments here. We haven't, I'm sure you'll agree with this, Luis, we haven't even scratched the surface, all the details here.
No.
We've got other videos that you can watch at My Circle of Champions, a whole list of FAQs and other resources in this particular module that will help inform them. Our contact information is at the website, so feel free to reach out to either one of us if you have any questions. Any final comments, Luis?
No, I don't think so. I'm really thrilled to be a part of helping you help your student succeed in college. And as Bryan mentioned, there's a whole host of topics we'll be talking about. We'll be bringing some other friends in to the conversation, and some existing champions or past champions or current students to add their voices to the wealth of information that we look forward to sharing with you.
Thank you for watching, and more importantly, thank you for being a champion in your student's life.
Amen.